flash is, you just go right up to you know. I had an old Eagle Gazette. It had Beer's name on the front of it, so she collected it. It was April 1966. And it's just little things that I wanted to read from it. Geraldine Worley was the editor, and Linda Bingham was the assistant editor. And I would like to have made copies for everybody. It said, did you know Rosalie Solomon went steady with Terry McCoy in the 3rd grade? Senior superlatives, Miss Senior Karen Summers, Best Favorite Virginia C, Best Dressed Carol Pemberton, Mr. Senior Donald Miller, Most Handsome Sidney Clark, Cutest Troy Thiel, Wittiest Jerry Reynolds. Of course, there's a lot of other titles in there, but I won't take the trouble to read all those, you know. Under quotable quotes, Miss Langley, this test is so easy, I'm ashamed to give it. Believe it or not, Miss Niles fell up the steps again. Remember Miss Niles? He was what, teaching English. I love these old songs that was playing a while ago. And pop tunes, old and new. Some of these you'll remember. These boots were made for walking. Margaret Preston. Dear Uncle Sam, Judy Holly. Little old lady from Pasadena, Mrs. Niles. Now, one that is really interesting was your class whip. And goodness knows I won't take time to read all of it, but just some that I marked. Ronnie Graves leads his influence with the Oakdale law to Charles Coffey. Earl Hedrick parks with his used cars to Darlene Springfield. Don Russell and Jerry Wilford will their ability to stay in hot water to anybody who thinks he won't get burned. And Robert Bingham lives up to his do or die kissing to Arnold Barnes. Judy Holly bequeaths her sexy ways to Shirley Eddington and Judith Barnes. I know that all of you mentioned several things that you can remember about the times you've been on, and I'd like to hear you talk about your time since 1966. Is that on the schedule? Yeah. I could talk on and on and on and on, you know.
We wish we could, if anybody wants a copy of this, we could probably, I'm real good friends with the secretary of the school, Phyllis Langley, and they have maybe a laser printer, and so we could get your address, and I'd be glad to send you all one, because it's got some real cute and some fun.
A story about that wheelchair basketball team. I tried to get the Holiday Inn to donate rooms, they wouldn't, because they had handicap rooms. Well, the old Harriman Hotel, remember where it was? Well, they didn't have handicap rooms, but they donated rooms. And those guys, they had one walker with them, and he'd have to pull up the steps and this, that, and the other. And it come the dangest snowstorm that night. Some of y'all may remember it. And they couldn't get out of Harriman the next day. And until way up in the evening, you know, see. But they had to check out that motel by 11 o'clock, or hotel by 11 o'clock, see. So they just ended up on the streets. You know. But one of those guys, lives in, I've met him at the Woodrow Wilson Rehabilitation Center in Victorville, Virginia in 1958, when I was injured and went to there, you know. Chuck Porter from Governor, New York. And this had nothing to do with the class either, but anyhow, while I was at the University of Tampa, Chuck had gone back to Governor. And he was spina bifida, been in a wheelchair all his life. And he'd been at the rehab center taking training to be a bookkeeper. See? But anyhow, he called me. And he said, Paul, he said, the snow's so deep up here. He said, I can't even get to work. He said, could I come down and live with you a time till I could find me a job? So I snuck him into the door. And he finally found a job at ABC Employment Agency. And then he ended up being in charge of all handicap facilities for Tampa Bay Stadium. And Chuck's still living and still playing that wheelchair basketball. But that's how come we could bring that team up here, because I knew him so well, you know. But that just, we did a lot of things to raise money. And what, did they have a donkey? Basketball?
Did y'all not have the globe trotters?
Yeah. They came play with
Globe trotters, donkey ball, and wheelchair. People never seen such. No.
Y'all were the only class that I ever really sponsored for a class trip, because when the next 4 years, you know, I became principal in '72, and so I didn't have a class to take to Florida, but Fierce took her class to Florida, and I went with them. And they told me too. But it was the only class really that I ever really sponsored as a teacher, because we didn't have that privilege. And I enjoyed teaching a lot more than I did being principal. I'm through.
No, I hope we have this again in 50.
You have to say what you done.
I ain't doing nothing. No. I moved to Florida, and we lived in there 28 years on that St. Johns River, fish and shrimp and all that. I worked for Georgia Pacific for 21 years. And we moved back up here in Harriman, Meadowview Gardens area 3 years ago. So that's where we live. I come to this church.
Good to see ya.
4 years, okay?
You that are on Facebook, you need to type in Rosalie Solomon, so she's on Facebook.
Well, mostly, since I got out of school, I've worked in retail sales. I worked for Russell's Market for 9.5 years. I just mostly worked in retail sales. 3 daughters, 8 grandchildren, and 2 great-grandchildren, and 1 on the way. That's been my busy life.
I worked in the hosiery mill that led closed down, and then I went to doing CNA work, done that for 20-something years. I'm retired. I have 2 sons, 2 grandsons, and now I'm taking care of a disabled husband. That's it.
Geraldine Worthy.
Well, I went to the mill that closed down, then I went to Rome State, got my associate's degree, and then I went back to work there for 18 years, and I'm retired, and I'm still working there part-time.
Chris Morris.
Well, I worked at Oakdale for a little while until I married George. And then I went to Rome State, got a bachelor's, associate's degree, got a bachelor's degree, and a master's degree.
Let's see, I live in Central Texas. I was a computer tech, taught typing for a long time. Children hate you when you teach typing because it's get good posture, the wrists are up, but if you've ever had a typing teacher, they were doing their best, they really were. And then as I knew I was going to be retiring at some point, I went back to school for photography and got my associates in photography. And it was kind of like when darkroom was still going on and film, so I have that background plus digital. I have 2 children, they're wonderful, but not nearly as great as my grandchildren. I have 6 grandchildren, 5 boys and a girl, and I have pictures.
I worked for Reumion and got married. I have 3 children. We've been married 43 years. I then went to Brown State, got associates. I went to work in Oak Ridge at Oral, worked there a while, and then I went to work for Keith Dealis, site manager K25. I left there, have grown in his business, and I've had my own business now for 11 years. I'm a long-arm soldier. I just quilted, I quilt quilts for a lot of charity work. Some of you may or may not know about the Hospitality House in Oak Ridge. That's where people that have cancer, that live more than 35 miles, can stay there for free. That means a lot to me right now because I have a brother that's dying of cancer. I started a quilt guild in Oak Ridge because I worked there so many years. We've done a lot of quilts for the Children's Hospital and also pillowcases. Last week in Knoxville we had the Medal of Honor military, and I quilted some quilts for those military people. Actually, one was 90 years old, and I don't know. So I have
Judy Hall.
Oh, let's see, where do I begin? 2 days after graduation night, I got married to Harold Snow. Some of you might remember him. And we had 2 children, Roddy and Stacy, and parted ways. I worked at Oak Ridge, on and off. I would retire occasionally and go back. And now I work for Steve Karen Kittrell's son, Chris Kittrell and Paradise. I live in the North City. And since I always did things kind of backwards, like getting married, you know, too quick, and having kids too quick. I started college when I was in my early 40s. Never had a day's college, and my first teacher was right here. And so that inspired me to go ahead and get my 4-year degree, finally. Thought I was going to die first. I survived.
Chambers.
She left.
Charlotte Cruz.
Well, I worked with Dr. Saddle for 8 years, and people came in and told me how much they were making recaps, so I did. We had recaps, and then I met Michael's daddy and married him, and then when we got divorced, I moved to Airman and LG, my best friend, and married him. We've been married 27 years. When recap closed, I went to nursing school, and now I work for Michael Dunn as a nurse for the last 11 years.